Welcome back to Your Lake Fork Guide. You guys kind of got the short end of the stick one more time on the Guides Network deal. You got to listen to me. I'm going to talk to you about a technique today, and we caught a couple really good fish. It was an extremely tough day, and I know you guys are hearing that a lot. You know, for those that don't know, most weeks I'm getting one chance. I get 1 day a week most weeks to film this stuff and put this content, this on the water content, out for you guys. Unfortunately, lately we've had a run of post-frontal situations. Today we're on about the third or fourth straight day of total post-front, north winds, high pressure, bluebird skies, as you can see behind me. It's just been extremely tough today, and you know, we just caught a few fish, but we caught some good ones, and I'm going to show you a technique today that will help you get bit when those conditions are so extremely tough like they were today. So the technique that we're talking about is a lipless crankbait. Heard it a million times. More specific though, when it's really tough, a 1/4 ounce lipless crankbait. Now, I gotta have a couple things. I gotta have some water clarity. I can't have totally dirty water. It can't be muddy water. I gotta have clear to slightly stained watercolor, and I've gotta have good healthy vegetation, because that's when you're gonna get your bite, is when this thing is contacting that grass and jumping out of there. So that's the two things that I'm going to have before I want to use this technique on a tough day. But as far as the gear, as far as the tackle, what you need to know is, for me on this deal, I use the original rattle trap, Rat L trap. And they have a few different color combos in the 1/4 ounce that I'll use in the cold time of year. This is kind of an orange crawl that I really like. That's actually my very favorite one. And then this is more of like a Rayburn red type of crawfish color. Again, orange, a little more gold highlight. I seem to catch them better on that orange one. I will throw this one. This one gets bit too. So it's just kind of a, you know, play around with those two. They're really close in colors. The other option is when you have clear water, and it needs to be clear, and you have a bright sunny day, that gold chrome, as you guys can see, the fish have just destroyed this particular one. Thanks, Chris Blackman. I know you watch these videos, and I'll let you borrow this for 1 day, and you brought it back like this. This is ridiculous. But it actually caught some fish for us yesterday on a guide trip. It is a clutch bait in my box. 1/4 ounce gold chrome. There's other brands that have a gold chrome. It's not the same color. The other ones are more of a yellowish tint to their gold chrome. This one has more of a diluted or more of a bland type of gold chrome. It's almost solid chrome with just a little bit of a gold hue to it, and it really seems to catch them better than the other brands. So that's the three. That's all I use. Those for 1/4 ounce lipless crankbait on a tough day. That's the 3 color patterns. That's the only traps that I use. Setup. You know, we had the lipless crankbait video with Jason Hoffman too long ago. If you haven't gotten a chance to see that, I suggest that you watch it, because there was some crazy stuff that happened in that video, and it's going to be right up here, and you can click on that and watch it now. But on the setup, I like the same setup that Jason does. This is an H2O Express rod, but you know what, it works for this job. It's a 7-foot medium heavy, and on this line of rods, their powers run just a little bit lighter than what they say. I like something on the light end of medium heavy. Jason's the same way. His was the same thing. On line, very important on especially this 1/4 ounce line, on this 1/4 ounce bait. If you can get away with it at all, unless the grass is just too terribly thick, I always want to use 15-pound fluorocarbon line. It doesn't have as much stretch as mono. If it gets too much stretch, you can't snatch it out of the grass as quick and easy. It causes problems getting that bait free of the grass. But with the braid, remember, this is a finesse technique on a tough day. With that braid, I feel like they hear it. And you guys have heard me say that before. And when you're talking about a tough bite like this, you can't afford to give the fish any more clues than absolutely necessary. So don't want them to hear the braid. That's why I always use fluorocarbon anytime I can get away with it, especially on this 1/4 ounce trap. Reel, you guys know what it is on reels. Everybody's got their favorite brand. This is also an H2O Express. That's that metal reel. I use those a lot. I like them. Main thing is, on a trap, you have to be able to change the speed. You'll see here in a minute when I talk about the retrieve, I use that reel to move that bait up and down in the water column. So I honestly, the middle of the road gear ratios, the 6-to-1, 6-3-to-1, 6-4-to-1, that's what works best because it gives me the widest variance of speed. I can slow it down or speed it up versus having to overdo it on a 5-to-1 or slow it way down on a 7-to-1. It kind of gives me the best middle tier where I can move it up and down speed wise. And you guys will see in a minute why that's so important. So that's the setup. You know, areas that we look for. We've talked about this on grass flats before. We're relating this specifically to cold water, pre-spawn, tough conditions. When we think about a grass flat in the pre-spawn, and we've got these big, wide, expansive areas of grass. On these tough days, when it's tough conditions, those fish are going to pull back. If maybe it's a drain, you know, a little bit deeper depression. Maybe there's a grass line on a creek channel or a ditch where it gets deeper and the grass didn't grow. Maybe that line is what they pull to. Maybe it's a mixture of two different grasses where, you know, you got today the situation we had hydrilla growing in slightly deeper water and coontail growing in shallower water. The biggest fish that we caught came right on that seam where those two grass lines mix. But those fish, when they're wanting to spawn, they get back in these grass flats on warming trends and on days when they're moving back, they're going to spread out. Well, as the weather gets bad, as the conditions get worse and they get colder and they get shocked from the high pressure and all that, they're going to suck back to wherever they came from. So that's what you want to look for. It may be a change in the grass line. It may be a change in depth. It may be a timber line. It could be a lot of different things. But wherever you can find a big grass flat, find where they would funnel back to, and on those tough days, that's where that 1/4 ounce trap is going to shine and work the best for you. Well, that's pretty simple deal. It sounds simple. It's really not. It's a pretty precise technique. It's just kind of one of those deals. It's not one that you'll use all year, but boy, when you get in a bad situation and you got that post frontal day and you got to fish a tournament, this one can save your butt. I mean, it can really rescue a bad day for you. I guess now let's get up and talk about how to retrieve it, because that's a very important, that's a crucial part of this deal. All right, so on the retrieves, it's really one standard retrieve, but it's very varying. It's all about the grass. It's all about the grass. It's all about the grass. It's about the grass. So the deal is, you have to work that trap and you have to get a feel for it. And what you want to do on this is not one of those techniques with deep grass where you want to throw that bait out there and snatch it. You want to just barely hit the top of that grass, and the lighter pressure that you can put on that bait to make it come out of that grass, the more subtle, the better you're going to get bit. You're going to get more bites. The deal is, like we said, it's a tough day. Fish aren't really wanting to bite. If you go to jerking on it and being aggressive with that bait, they're just going to bail out and they're going to leave the area. You're going to run them clean out of that stretch of grass you're fishing. So what you want to do is, when you throw that bait out there, you want to let that bait go down, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. You want to let that bait get down in the water column as you're retrieving it back to you. And as soon as you feel pressure, you just want to give it a little bit of snap on your reel turn, maybe a little bit of a pressure on your rod, lift your rod just a little bit, and most of the time, if you catch that bait before it goes way down in that grass stalk, it'll just ease on out of there and pop out in a very soft and subtle manner. And that is how you get bit on tough days. So I'll show you guys what I'm talking about here. I'm going to make a long cast. What I want to do is, after I make that long cast, I just want to kind of hold that rod at about a 10 o'clock angle, and that's going to give me the room that when I go to snatch that bait, I'm going to have more leverage. If I'm holding that rod up here and trying to really slow that bait down, when I hit grass and I go to pull on it, I have no room to pull. I have no power. So I want to hold that rod at about a 9 to 10 o'clock angle. So we're reeling along. We got that long cast where it's reeling along. We got that rod at the right angle, and when it starts hitting that grass and you feel that rod start to load, you just want to turn that reel. If you can do it like that, that's the best way to do it. That bait will just ease out of there and flutter back into motion, and that's perfect. And if you do that and it still doesn't come out, just give it a little pop, just a little pop. Not so much with your wrist, because it gets more snappy and violent, I like to actually pull it like this, you know, just pull the whole rod to my body a little bit, and that'll get that bait up out of that grass. Now, sometimes that grass gets real thick, and when it does, when that grass gets really, really thick, what you got to do is, you know, as it goes down into it, and you're trying to get it out of there, and it's not coming. You're going, you hit grass, you reel, it doesn't come, you pull, it's still stuck. At that point, I want to put slack in my line and snap it 3 times as violently as I can. Because what has now happened is that trap has bogged into that grass, and you have to shake that grass off the trap. And that's about the only way to do it, is snap it. And you do that, and if you can feel that trap to have that, you know, it's had that little subtle vibration. Once you've snapped it, if you can feel that vibration, there's no grass on the bait. If there's grass on that hook, if it's around the head of the bait, on the eye, you know, where you tie to your line tie, any of that, it won't vibrate. So you'll know. If you can feel that, just that little vibration, you're good to go. Keep fishing that bait. If it just wads up and you can't get it off, go ahead and reel the bait back in, get the grass off it, and throw it back out there. All right, guys, that's a fairly down and dirty, quick and easy on a 1/4 ounce lipless crankbait. Like I said, we already did the lipless crankbait deal. This was more of a specific deal for your post-frontal tough day situations. So I kind of wanted to clue you guys in, because I'm telling you, that's something that has actually saved me a lot of grief on very tough days over the years. It's actually won me some money in some very tough conditions when I was fishing tournaments, and it's definitely kept me from zeroing on some tough days when I'm guiding. So take that with you next time you've got a tough post-frontal day in a pre-spawn time period here in Texas, January, February. Maybe where you live might be a little bit later, but next time you've got this situation, post-frontal pre-spawn, and you can't buy a bite, find some grass, 1/4 ounce trap. I bet it'll work out for you. If you like this video, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up. You want to see more like it, subscribe. We got all kinds of instructional stuff. We got some competitive stuff. You're going to see me actually win a competition against another guide with that bait. So stay tuned. We appreciate you guys watching as always, and we'll see you next time on Your Lake Fork Guide. That's a good fish, probably a 4-pounder, but look, I got so lucky. so lucky. Pretty good one. That's a good one, dude. I think we made the right choice. What y'all think about that? Lake Monticello, this is our first bite. I'm gonna have to come here more often. It's been like 2 months. I guess this place is awesome.
I tell you what.